I'm here today to announce that just this morning, sitting down with Governor Ige, he has approved Oahu's request for a stay-at-home, work-at-home order. That order is going to take effect midnight, 12:01 a.m. Thursday.
Breaking news, drastic action to stop the spread of the coronavirus on Oahu. Governor Ige just approved Mayor Caldwell's request to shut down the island again by reinstating a stay-at-home, work-at-home order which takes effect at 12:01 a.m. Thursday and will last 2 weeks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for watching. This is Now. I'm Jonathan, your director, producer, alongside Ashley. Wanted to tell you that the state is reporting 215 new cases today. More than 200 of those are on Oahu.
Now, we're still sorting through all the details of the new emergency order, but this is what we know right now. Mayor Caldwell says essential businesses can remain open. That includes childcare, construction, healthcare, and some educational services. Religious services will also be allowed, but with restrictions. Businesses not considered essential include personal services like salons and barber shops, gyms, and restaurants. Restaurants will have to revert back to takeout only. Beach, parks, trails, and bars will remain closed. Here's more from the mayor and the governor about why they felt this action was needed.
We're going to see how it goes. We're hopeful that the number will decline. And on top of the other actions we've taken, that the people of Oahu have taken, whether it be closing of bars, closing down of large gathering spaces in parks and other places, and no gatherings more than 5. On top of this, hopefully we'll see the number decline to a level where we can manage our contact tracing and everything else that we need to do. If it doesn't work, we'd look to continue it, but we're hopeful that it will work. And at that point, we can start to return and open up again.
As we've all seen over the past week or so, the troubling triple-digit increases in the number of new COVID confirmations that we've had and seen. And this has put a stress on our healthcare system. We have always said that we will be data-driven, looking at what's at the best interest of our community and taking action necessary. I think the mayor and I both agree that we wish that the actions taken already would have been more successful. It has flattened the curve a little, but we both agree that we need to do more.
The city also announced it will be doing surge testing for the next 2 weeks, with the goal of administering 5,000 tests a day for a total of 70,000 tests.
It's Wednesday, Kaneohe District Park and Leeward Community College. So tomorrow, those are the 2 sites that we're going to be testing. And then Thursday, Ewa Mahiko, Waianae District Park, and Kalakaua District Park. So just start with the first couple days and then the information will come beyond that. We want you to pre-register. It's going to save a lot of time, not only before, but at the site as well. So it's easy to remember, do I need a COVID-19 test.com. Easy to remember. All you need is your name, your phone number, your address, and an email so we can give you the results.
Chief Nevis says testing is free. You don't need insurance or a doctor's referral or even symptoms to get tested. Mayor Caldwell says the city will also work with the state to ramp up contact tracing. He says the city plans to hire between 250 and 500 contact tracers.
You heard it right there from Mayor Caldwell and Governor Ige. The breaking news of today, a new stay-at-home order will go into effect for Oahu for 2 weeks starting on Thursday. That news just broke a short time ago at a press conference. Also there, LG Josh Green and U.S. Surgeon General Jerome Adams. Let's listen in to what they had to say about this latest response from the state to the coronavirus pandemic.
You were in the yellow. That means that more of your cases are coming back positive. That's indicative of greater community spread. If you have a positivity rate greater than 10%, that means you're in the red. Just like a stoplight, it means you need to stop. Yellow is where Hawaii is right now. Caution. That means you're at a turning point. That means things could get really bad and they could go to red really quickly, or they could get much improved really quickly if people do the right things. And it's why, as the mayor and the governor emphasized, it's important to combine this shutdown, this reset, this temporary reset. And I want people to understand, it really only has to be temporary while we get tested, while we get contact tracing and quarantining and isolation done. And you have the power to make it temporary by doing your part to slow the spread.
And that's what it's about. It's about saving lives and getting us back to a place where our economy can again thrive. And it's difficult. It's difficult without strong orders. So here you go. As of today, 215 cases. 215 cases in the state of Hawaii, and this has been about what we've been dealing with for the last 2 or 3 weeks. We've been somewhere in the 200s. We have on one occasion tipped over 300, and that was obviously worrisome. A little perspective, and I think this will inform, in many ways, tell the whole story of what the governor and the mayor have been looking at. On August 10th, just 15 days ago, we had 229 cumulative hospitalizations, and we had 105 in our hospitals on that day, on the 10th. That was a number that was pretty easy to deal with across our Queens Hospital, Hawaii Pacific Health, and all of our other hospitals. Flash forward to today. Here we are, August 25th. We have a cumulative number of 397 hospitalizations and 270 currently in our hospitals. Let me put those two together so you can see. On the 25th, today, we have 165 more individuals in the hospital, and that means it taxes our critical care nurses, our physician community, and the ability to have the medications and keep everyone alive. Therefore, in order to stay at home, we'll keep people alive.
Now, the staff shortage at Hawaii hospitals is only growing worse, with now at least 100 healthcare workers statewide either infected or in quarantine. Yesterday, the state finalized its request for mainland workers to come and assist. They need enough for 60 additional beds on Oahu and 10 on Maui. The state is also seeking approval for civilians to be treated at Tripler Army Medical Center. And the Healthcare Association of Hawaii also wants to send some patients to designated hotels or quarantine facilities.
Because the infection rates are continuing at the rate they are, that continues to add capacity to our hospitals or add demand on our hospitals because more patients are coming in with COVID-19 than what we're discharging on any given day.
Meanwhile, thousands of laid-off workers in Hawaii are still waiting for their unemployment benefits. Today, the Labor Department's acting director joined us on Sunrise for a one-on-one interview.
I want to start by running down some numbers for you, okay? Last week, DLIR needed to take action on 10,286 claims. That's down just 217 from the week before. Now, if we keep going at that rate, it's going to take 9 months to get to all of them. How is that an acceptable rate?
So we didn't just work on 200 that week. Every single week, we bring in about almost 4,000 new applications for unemployment insurance. So if you add those new applications onto that outstanding number, the office has actually completed over 4,000 claims for that week.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that still leaves thousands though, Anne. And I think the part of the frustration is that this started in March. And granted, there were infrastructure problems and problems with the computers and people coming to the job and then leaving. But why hasn't the department been able to put together a plan to get things under control at this point?
Actually, we have. We put together a plan. The numbers have dropped drastically. We paid out over 167,000 claimants so far for unemployment insurance. We also cleared about 94,000 from those claims that we actually made decisions on but didn't qualify for payments. So that number that's outstanding right now is a cumulative of every week's added claims of almost 4,000 in the last about 5 to 6 weeks. And prior to that, we were bringing in between 7,000 and 8,000 claims a week.
At the same time, and it's great to throw numbers out there, and there are people that have received money, but at the same time, it's hard to take because we hear from the individuals. We hear from the voices of the people that are sitting down at the dinner table and they don't have enough to feed their families. Does the department understand that this is a crisis, and how many people are personally impacted by what's going on?
Yes, most definitely, especially myself. I've worked for the department for 31 years. I understand the impact that unemployment insurance has on each individual that is truly due that payment. We are working diligently every day. We work almost 7 days a week, and since March, and the staff has been working through and through trying to get these claims done as quickly as possible. There are some claims, Steve, that are extremely tough to get through. You know, there are separation issues where individuals either quit their job and a determination needs to be made by an adjudicator, or they were let go for misconduct and a decision needs to be made under unemployment insurance statutes with fact-finding from both the employer and the claimant, and make sure that we do our due diligence in making the right determination to keep the integrity of the trust fund and balance that with making sure we make those payments to claimants as soon as we possibly can.
Something we hear all the time is, oh, I was on the phone all day, I couldn't get through. Why are the phones not being answered?
So we had a call center spun up at the convention center, and that call center has closed as of August 1st. Those calls are now being routed to all the local claims offices statewide. So all 8 offices are answering phones now. We're trying to take those calls as quickly as possible. They're also trying to work on the claims and get them processed and fixed so that people can be paid. We are looking at some new alternatives on spinning up something to take a program to take calls instead of having those calls taken by our internal staff.
More Hawaii public schools are dropping the online learning platform Acellus. Casey Lund has more.
We're here outside Aliamanu Elementary School, one of the schools that made the decision to completely drop the Acellus learning platform from its distance learning program for, quote, inappropriate and racist content. 2 other schools have followed suit, Hickam and Nimitz Elementary, and this is what some of those parents have been sending in to us. This is a lesson for 3rd graders asking which image best depicts Harriet Tubman's escape to Philadelphia. A parent found that in the lesson plan, the correct answer was the white male burglar character you see on the left. Another question asks which terrorist group Osama bin Laden was the leader of, with one of the possible answers towel ban rather than Taliban. Other strange screenshots sent to us by parents include questions with a Bible verse and an odd lesson about pilgrims, and then there's this.
Something that starts with the G sound. Not much else in here. Oh, I see something little. Watch out. Ooh, it's a gun. It's a good thing it's got this orange thing telling us that it's a toy, right?
All of this strange content aside, one parent I spoke to said what's equally concerning is that the curriculum is simply not up to par. Her son is a 9th grader, and this is what she had to say about Acellus and his workload at home.
With this program, I'm worried that he's going to fall behind because it is so simple. Even my niece, my sister's kids are on this as well, and my niece is special education, and she, even for her, it is very easy. And so I just don't understand how this is going to be on par with having a live teacher teach virtually, which is what I think most parents would want.
There's now a petition at change.org to remove Acellus from all Hawaii public schools with around 1,500 signatures so far. And it's important to note, again, that Acellus was the option for students who opted for full online learning well before the DOE made the last-minute pivot to move all students to distance learning for the first 4 weeks. We also want to let you know that DOE has responded to some of these concerns. They say they're going to work with Acellus, the vendor, to identify and remove, if necessary, some of that inappropriate content. They say that this program isn't a statewide mandate, that individual schools can make their decision on whether or not to use it. But again, a lot of parents still very concerned with what some of their students are learning. I'm Casey Lund for This Is Now.
Now this next story is certainly getting a lot of buzz online. Should incoming arrivals be required to wear a tracking device? It's already happening in some countries. Howard Dykes takes a closer look.
Travel Weekly, noting that Hawaii is considering this, reports 4 countries are doing it: the Cayman Islands, South Korea, Hong Kong, and Singapore. The 4 policies differ, but most are issuing wristbands with GPS. Quarantine enforcement, in other words. The Caymans are also monitoring vitals. The Caymans are using a U.S.-made device that takes your temperature and transmits data every 10 minutes. These early adopters are effectively testing the technology for the rest of us who might adopt it later on.
With scientists around the world racing to develop vaccines, a new report says the Trump administration is considering an emergency use authorization for a vaccine being developed out of Oxford University. Charlie DeGatta got an exclusive look inside a lab working to produce up to 3 billion doses.
Swirling around in these flasks may be the world's greatest hope in bringing an end to the pandemic, the very Oxford vaccine itself. The Paul Corporation lab looks like a cross between an industrial kitchen and an operating room, where bioreactors share space with monkey wrenches.
So this is
the masks and gowns are less about our protection than us contaminating the facility. When its Oxford University vaccine began to show promise earlier this year, drug giant AstraZeneca approached Director of Strategy Clive Glover with a challenge.
So the initial challenge was to make a process that could be used to make millions of doses in a single batch.
Millions.
Millions of doses in a single batch, which could then be repeated.
The eyes of the world have been fixed on the science behind the Oxford vaccine and whether it works. But it wouldn't go anywhere without this, the hardware. Glover told us the process of developing a system to scale up like this usually takes years. They came up with this blueprint within 8 weeks. In all of your years, you've never seen anything like this.
No, there's no question that the speed with which we worked on this process is unprecedented.
A small starter batch of the vaccine is multiplied in this bioreactor until it produces millions of infected cells. Those cells are then broken down, the vaccine is isolated, and the rest of the system is essentially just a series of filters that remove cell debris and suspect contaminants.
This is a classic engineering problem. How do you take your mother's favorite cookie recipe and make it exactly the same way thousands and millions of times?
This equipment gets shipped out to manufacturers throughout the world. There is no time to spare and zero margin for error. The Oxford vaccine is one of several leading candidates, including Moderna and Pfizer-BioNTech. Russia's vaccine has skipped large-scale phase 3 testing, offering inoculation to anyone who chooses to have one. Of course, Glover's gunning for the Oxford vaccine, and he's put more than his reputation on the line. He's taken part in the trial himself.
What has been very gratifying about this process is to be so closely engaged as both an end user and as involved with the manufacturing.
Well, you don't get more personally engaged than that.
You don't get more personally engaged.
The director of the Oxford vaccine said it's just possible they may have enough data to present to regulators this year. As for AstraZeneca, they told us they haven't held any discussions about fast-tracking this vaccine with anybody. Charlie D'Agata, CBS News, London.
Thanks, Charlie, for that update. You know, we had so much coronavirus news locally to get to, and we're still sorting it out for you guys. So you're going to want to stay with HNN and our digital platforms for the very latest.
That's right. We're still trying to work on getting clarification on some things, like retail stores. We're not sure where that falls in the essential businesses or non-essential businesses. So we will bring you those developments as we get them.
Meantime, let's turn it over to Guy Hoggy with a look at your weather.
How's it on this Tuesday? We have cyclone-free weather in the Central Pacific and no threats coming to us anytime soon. In fact, the weather looks rather nice for the next 7 days. Look at that. High temperatures running to above 90 degrees for some leeward areas. Rainfall will be very sparse. If anything, we'll get a few overnight and early morning showers for those windward areas. And those trade winds will be picking up speed. It's going to be a breezy from Maui all the way to Kauai. Not so much, though, for Kona. They'll be the outlier. They'll have light winds there, and that means it's going to be hot and sticky over in Kona. Otherwise, everybody else in for typical trade wind weather. And with all the sunshine, temperatures will be running above 90 degrees for a handful of leeward spots. And if anything, we'll get some overnight showers for those windward and Mauka areas. Now, the surf's on the way down. Still fun, though, on the south shore, 2 to 4 feet. Nothing in the way of significant swells coming anytime soon. But as far as the sun, boy, it's going to be running in excess. UV index is at 12. And we'll see similar conditions over the next several days, although the winds are expected to back off a little bit starting on Wednesday. They'll pick up speed just in time for the weekend. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
Thank you, Guy. You know, we could just lose the animation music on this animation here, just be my stomach rumbling, because all we do is talk about food in our From the Feed segment, it seems like.
It's true.
Today is no exception. We're talking about McDonald's new product, and I'm excited about this one. I know Ashley is too. They're introducing some new menu items. Up first, a new flavor of chicken nuggets. They haven't done this since 1983, according to CNN.
Wow.
The new one is going to be a breaded tempura coating with a cayenne chili pepper.
Spicy McNuggets.
McNuggets,
All right.
you got it. Yeah, they're also releasing a new Mighty Hot sauce to go along with that. And you can see right there in the picture a new McFlurry. It's Chips Ahoy.
Yum.
Which seems like, they didn't have a cookie flavored one?
No,
I think they had
it was
Oreo.
Oreo and M&M's and like some peanut butter one I can't eat because I'm allergic.
Well,
but Chips Ahoy, that's cool.
Yeah, expect them in September 16th. Yeah, Chips Ahoy, I'm indifferent. I'm an Oreo guy. Those are so good.
This is what I found. Notorious B.I.G.'s crown is going up for auction. So the rap legend wore and signed the crown in the iconic 1997 King of New York photo shoot for Rap Pages magazine. The Biggie Smalls crown photo went on to become one of hip-hop's culture's most recognizable images, and it's going to go on auction September 15th.
All right, let's talk about some good news, some promising news. Our digital content creator, Mel Yamaguchi, takes a look at how the show must go on for our live entertainment industry.
In March, less than a week after Dave Moss moved to Honolulu from Chicago, he was handed the toughest task of his career, managing the Hawaii Symphony Orchestra in the middle of a pandemic.
One of the ways that we have stayed engaged with our community here is through digital content. And our musicians, through their own social media channels and through the HSO channels, have been creating at-home performances.
When stay-at-home orders were issued, HSO canceled about 5 weeks of performances. Now, Moss is helping re-envision the orchestra outdoors in places like the Waikiki Shell with lots of social distancing.
The opportunity to have such an iconic venue here in Hawaii with the Waikiki Shell, with Diamond Head in the background and all of the social distancing room we could ever need, and really for the safety of the musicians too, the natural air that blows the COVID away. It's really been a high priority for us to find a way back there.
The theater industry has also gone dark, and community theaters are struggling while they wait for curtains to rise. The Manoa Valley Theater isn't just worried about spacing out the audience, they're also looking at how actors interact on stage.
It's just irresponsible to ask people to do a love scene in this current situation. So we just are going to have to be very creative, and the audience, I'm sure, will be indulgent because we're all in the same boat.
Still, the theater's executive director says, where there's a will, there's a way.
Art is the flower garden of life. And right now, things can be pretty gray. And we need that. We need those colors.
Melanie Yamaguchi, Hawaii News Now.
Thank you very much, Melanie, for that report. Really good job there. Our whole digital content team is working right now to sort out all those new rules Oahu is facing. We're not expecting any other official press conferences as of right now. If that changes, we'll send you a push alert and let you know and bring it to you on our digital platforms. You guys, as you saw, so much news we had today. We're going to get the wrap up for you coming up today at 5 on KHNL and KGMB. Stay safe out there, everyone.
Aloha.